Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and today we're talking about something a little different, which I'm sure you've already guessed by the thumbnail and title, but we're going to be talking about Vermintide 2, which I haven't really covered Vermintide extensively in quite a while here on the YouTube channel, which is a shame. It's something I should talk more about, because I do still very, very deeply love the game, but the main reason I'm back to focus on it is because of news, and the news is basically that the developers Fat Shark released a brief Q&A where they wanted to address a number of questions regarding Sienna. So Sienna, who is the Bright Wizard character, is the last of the 5 Vermintide crew who is missing her 4th career, which is something that a lot of us have been very, very excited for. There's a lot of build-up to it, seemingly tied into the most recent adventure, Trail of Treachery, which is a 2-part adventure free LC. We've gotten the first part, and it's super duper fun. It's very difficult, but it's quite enjoyable. So I'm just going to briefly go through all these questions and then talk about what I am thinking about it and what I'm hoping for. So let's start here. Sienna when, though? Sienna has been slated to release after we push out some further content in 2023 for Vermintide that will help set the stage for her. Sienna will be after this 2023 content, but how long after is yet to be determined. Once this year's plans for Vermintide 2 have been approved, I'll be able to share some more information. So will Sienna arrive with the second part of a treacherous adventure, which is the Trail of Treachery thing? Sienna will not arrive with the second part of the Treacherous Adventure campaign map, but it will wrap up a good part of the story and lay a solid foundation for her new career, I assume. Does she have a release date? Internally, I've seen the window when she's slated to release. This release window has not been shared yet, as we want to firm up other content and her development first before sharing a release date with you all. I am working with the team to discuss our plans for Vermintide 2 this year before we announce a release date. How far along is her concept? We have nailed down her career, what she's going to be, how she plays, her abilities, etc. She is currently being actively worked on internally, but I wouldn't say she's polished enough to be publicly released yet. Is she a gold wizard? Maybe. Probably not. No, she is not. Sorry to dash all your hopes and dreams. All your speculations are good, however. I can confirm she is still a pretty cool magic user, though. Alright, so a couple little things that I want to kind of just talk about. It's really exciting to have it confirmed that Sienna is being worked on, and it sounds like she is progressing towards basically being completed and or fully polished, which will hopefully result in her being, ready for release. Based on the way they are wording everything, I would guess that Sienna is probably going to be released in Q3. Or maybe early Q4 based on the way they're talking about it, because we're already towards the end of January and they still haven't announced the second part of the Treacherous campaign adventure. So that has to come out first, and then Sienna sounds like she's going to be the next big thing after that. So I would imagine they're probably going to be releasing part 2 of the Treacherous adventure in late February, early March, perhaps. And then maybe we'll see Sienna herself come out sometime in the summer. I hope it's not that long, but that's what I'm kind of expecting based on the way they're kind of wording it. And I think it's better to hopefully expect it to be longer than it ends up actually being, because then you're happy with the surprise instead of disappointed. I will say that I am really, really glad that she is confirmed to be a wizard. I think, who the hell thought she was going to be a gold wizard? Like, what? what bizarre, goofy part of the community? Maybe the Vermintide community is just on a very different thread, or doesn't have a very good understanding of like the characters, as far as like how they fit within like the universe and the lore and stuff. But Sienna being a bright wizard would make so little sense. It's not even funny. I cannot imagine how they possibly thought that was going to be what it is. But hey, you can hope for what you can hope for, right? In any event, they have officially confirmed that she's not going to be a gold wizard, which makes perfect sense, seeing as that I just don't know how they would try to explain that, that she just randomly has picked up a completely different wind of color magic. I will say that based on everything they're saying, It's possible they're making a pun here when they say she is still a pretty cool magic user. I mean, if they really wanted to flip Sienna's character on her head and just release something completely different, they could just come out of left field and make Sienna into an ice witch. Because, I mean, what's the exact dead opposite of a fire wizard? Well, it'd probably be an ice witch. You're controlling literally the polar opposite element, at least from like an aesthetic perspective. However, I am personally still very, very heavily on Team Necromancer. There has been so much buildup to necromancy throughout the entirety of the current storyline. So for those unaware, Fat Shark, they haven't done it super recently, I think, but pretty typically they release about once a week a little lore blog that's like a journal entry from Loner. Sometimes it's a different character, but most of the time it's Loner. And basically it is forwarding the lore and the narrative of Vermintide. And they've been very, very fun to read. And one of these days I need to sit down and just go over all of them and do a big video about all the information they're dishing out. But there is some really fun little neat details in there that focus on kind of giving us an idea of where we're at right now in the end times, which basically we're getting insanely close to the resurrection of Nagash. Like, I believe, based on everything the characters have been talking about, the resurrection of Nagash should be happening almost any day now. But on top of that, we also have confirmation that there is a vampire running around who is sympathetic to Loner and seems to be an ally of his. It seems vaguely implied that it's Genevieve, but I'm not 100% certain on that. It may also be someone else. But there is a at least somewhat friendly vampire running around. We know that Sienna's sister is running around. Sienna has a twin sister named Sophia, and Sophia Fuegonasis is a necromancer. She's a very scary necromancer. And if you've played the Trail of Treachery, which is part 1 of the Treacherous Adventure campaign, you will have heard her voice at the very end of the mission, and she has the exact same voice actress as Sienna because she's her twin. So you kind of get to hear her talking and inviting all the players to come into the castle to face off against her. So I'm assuming that we're going to have a boss fight of some kind or something against her. Part of me wonders if this is going to tie into the resurrection of Nagash, because one of the really, really big things that happened in the end times that ties very directly to Sienna potentially changing careers is that when Nagash comes back from being dead and he returns to his full glory as the great necromancer, the first thing he basically does is that he attempts to devour the Wind of Death. So he rips Shaiish away from the vortex and tries to essentially take it into himself. But as he's doing so, he realizes that something's wrong, and his body, which is supposed to be flawless, has a flaw. So he starts potentially, basically the power of the Wind of Death threatens to overwhelm him and break him apart. So Nagash has to give up on his scheme of purely absorbing the Wind of Death, and instead he only absorbs some of it, and then he basically turns and slams the rest of it into Sylvania itself. So he grounds the Wind of Death into the land of Sylvania, which wreaks absolute havoc around that particular area, but it also just wreaks complete havoc on the winds of magic themselves. Because the Wind of Death, since it's no longer anchored to the vortex, that means that death magic is no longer filtering out of the world. Because instead of the Wind of Death being drawn to the vortex like the other 7 winds, it now is being drawn to Sylvania and is allowed to just kind of stagnate and hang around. And death magic also tends to be the most prone magic when it comes to turning into dark magic. So what this resulted in is that when Nagash ripped out the Wind of Death and slammed it into the ground and started making death magic just appear everywhere, and it wasn't going away, And because death magic is so dense, it has a very easy time converting into dark magic. This resulted in a ton of wizards accidentally becoming necromancers, because every single wizard in Warhammer Fantasy, no matter what lore they originally knew, no matter if they were humans, ogres, tomb kings, demons, elves, anything, they got access to a new lore of magic called the lore of undeath. And the lore of undeath is basically it's a more summon oriented lore of magic based on Nagash and all of his powers, but everybody got access to it because with the Wind of Death being completely ripped out of the ground, everyone had a way too easy time reaching into it and manipulating this ever corrupted death magic, which allowed them to start controlling corpses and unleash all these terrifying spells. And it's not purely summoning spells. I believe it has the spell Hand of Dust and like one other spell that are pretty spooky, like damage or debuff spells. But that is what I am expecting to happen to Sienna, is that she's going to have this big conflict with her twin, and maybe this advancing of the Vermintide plot will also be the first time in a long time that we're going to see the actual end times lore within Vermintide significantly advance with the resurrection of Nagash. So the Battle of the Nine Demons happens. And with that ending, Nagash comes back, and with his resurrection, magic goes haywire, and Sienna suddenly finds that she has access to this new lore of magic. I mean, that's how like Gelt ends up, Balthazar Gelt ends up taking it up, and there's tons of stories about a bunch of random wizards who end up suddenly picking up this new lore of magic. And it could also result potentially in undead enemies appearing without necessarily having to rely on vampires. However, another potential story thread is we do have this random good guy vampire running around who Loner has asked to help with the necromancer situation. So part of me wonders if something's going to happen where, because all of the careers are like kind of crazy, right? None of them are super casual fourth careers. You know, you have Warrior Priest Saltspire, Grail Knight Kruber, Outcast Engineer Barden, and Sister of the Thorn Carillion. Like these are very significant changes for the characters, which, you know, obviously a necromancer would be a pretty substantial change, but an absolutely batshit level change that would kind of be more on par with the more extreme other characters would be Vampire Sienna. Because a part of me wonders if what might kind of happen is that this either when Sienna goes toe to toe with her sister, she like gets mortally wounded, or just something goes down and she ends up getting the blood kiss from this mysterious vampire friend who may be Genevieve. And that would actually give us Vampire Sienna, which would be insane. Like that would be crazy wild. And like, yeah, she'd still be a wizard, and yeah, she could probably still use the lore of fire, or preferably the lore of undeath, just to make it really, really different. But that's kind of what I'm thinking and feeling regarding everything they mention. I do think that a Kislevite Ice Witch Sienna is also a distinct possibility. There has been kind of a lot of lore building up around Kislev with we've kind of been getting increasing mentions on what's going on. And Kislev is about to completely collapse in the storyline. So the city of Kislev is about to fall, and I think it essentially already has, but the Ubersreich 5 and their allies don't know that yet, because the Kislevite woman, whose name I cannot remember all of a sudden, Alicia, I think, who is one of your allies in Vermintide, the wizard who talks to you in a lot of your missions, and who shows up in Trail of Treachery, and you have to like escort her to the end without realizing that you're escorting her. She's from Kislev, and she has been actually sending a lot of missives to people she knows in Kislev, trying to find out what's going on there and learn the specifics. And one of the people that she's been constantly writing is a undead character who is a former flame of hers. It's not exactly clear if he's a vampire or a necromancer. I believe he's a necromancer because it seems like he's still alive. Just not maybe in the best of shape, but he tends to use undead familiars, because whenever he sends her a new missive, she always gets angry at him that he keeps usually sending undead creatures to deliver the message. or she threatens him not to kill her creatures that she sends to deliver his missives, or else she'll be super pissed at him. So like there are so many undead threads everywhere. Like undeath is the main storyline going on right now in Vermintide. It's not Nurgle, it's not Bellicor anymore, it's not the Skaven, it's the undead. So I can't help but think that maybe we just have like a very significant undead thing coming up. I would love for it to be a major DLC that actually gives us the undead as enemies. I think a part of me, as far as like the new big bads, would have preferred demons of Nurgle, but if we got undead, I would not complain. I would be plenty happy with it. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I just wanted to make a video covering the topic and would love to hear what you guys think based on, you know, this. Granted, this doesn't give us a lot of news, but would love to know if y'all think I'm crazy and you think that, no, it's not Necromancer, it's this other thing. Or do you agree with me? If so, you know, let me know why your opinion is whatever it is. And let me know if you have any hopes or predictions. But in any event, I will see you guys around. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.